It's just picking up. As Swami said, I had given message for 1500 years. After 100 years, it had just started picking up. And now people are increasingly realizing the greatness of his message, the value of it, and how it helps us in our daily lives. So they are discovered slowly, slowly. No prophet in general will be discovered in their own lifetime. All these incarnations and prophets will be discovered more after they are passing away, more after they leave their mortal coil. The people start understanding their greatness. In fact, Swamiji, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Holy Mother came at a very critical juncture in India's history. We were under British rule then. Sri Ramakrishna was born in 1836. 1000 years of slavery. They had been under slavery for 1000 years nearly. So the country lost hope in itself. The people, the race, they became despondent. A gloom of despair overcast the sky of this nation. Swamiji came at that point of time. So to raise this nation, which had lost all hope, was this immediate task. In fact, the role he had performed was a very complicated role. As a prophet, as a patriot, as a social reformer, so many facets he had combined in one personality. People sometimes describe Vivekananda as complex. It's not complex, it's multifaceted. The problem is, it's very difficult for one person to have so many facets. So we don't understand, we try to define, we try to attempt to understand him, to quantify him, to estimate him. That is very difficult. Because he's multifaceted, so many facets are there to one person. Because he had to play a very complex role in the sense that the work that he did in India was completely different from the work that he did in the West. In India, the country had sunken deep down in tamas. So he had to raise the country from tamas to rajas here. And in the West, actually, the people were already in rajas. There was materialism, they had discovered a lot of scientific inventions, a lot of boha materialism was going on there, and they actually had thirst for spirituality, and so he had given spiritual ideas to them. Whereas in India, he didn't prefer to preach philosophy and Vedanta. He preferred, Swamiji first preferred that these people should get some abhyudaya. Let them have a little go at one point of time, he said. Afterwards, yoga will come, renunciation will come. So, he didn't enforce renunciation here, though it was a land of renunciation. But when Swamiji came at that point of time, we were all thinking that we were in sattva. But in fact, the sattva was not there at all. It was all tamas. We lost faith in ourselves completely. So at that point of time, Swamiji came. And in fact, what he did, what is the works that Swamiji had done? Can we quantify that one? Is it ever possible? Swamiji said, actually, if you have to tell in one word what is the work that he has done, he gave back our ideas, our ancient ideas, our spiritual ideas, in modern language and modern dictum. We had those ideas before Swamiji, the Upanishads had been there. But before Swamiji's advent, it was completely buried, as it were. So it was there in Vedic India for some 1000 years or 1500 years. Afterwards, because of foreign rule, we forgot our spiritual heritage. So we went down, and Swamiji came, and just he had rediscovered them, and he had given them in the modern dictum and in modern language, so that we can understand and appreciate our own culture, our own spiritual heritage better. Perhaps in the history of the world, no one else before Swamiji could champion the cause of spirituality with such force, such conviction and such clarity as he did. The cause of religion, the cause of spirituality. At that point of time, in the West and also in India, people thought that because of the spirituality only we went down. So everybody started aping the West. Science and technology dominating the world. Everybody thought that spirituality means religion, means superstition. Religion means weakness. Only people who are superstitious, who are weak, will go to God, will go for religion, will go for spirituality. People had developed that kind of belief. And Swamiji said, actually, in fact, he tried to reconcile science and spirituality. But in India, it was not the need at all, because our spirituality is nothing but science, pure science, absolute science. And the science which we call physics, chemistry, and may not be 100% science. If you really try to judge it by scientific temper, But in India, our spirituality is absolute science, where about 5,000 years back, our rishis explored man completely and thoroughly and gave out this great true spiritual truths to us. But because very high ideals, spirituality of course is a great ideal, in the sense that to reach immortality, to reach God, a lot of self-control, a lot of inner struggle is necessary. But not many can attempt to do that. And so, because the majority cannot understand, majority cannot practice, majority don't come forward to put those great ideals into practice, what happens? People lose faith in the ideal itself. Then it's not true. Because the impracticality of the ideal may be high, but it's not impractical. Our rishis didn't give us anything which is impractical. They are given ideals which are very practical, but we have lost faith in them. There were not many people who were ready to try them, put them into practice. At that point of time, Swamiji came, and in fact, he had given the spirituality in such clear light, in such lucid language, in that lucid way, that it became very easy for even 50th class child. Swami said, I can teach Vedanta even to a 50th class child. But the work Swamiji had accomplished is undoubtedly a superhuman work. For any human being, for an ordinary man, to achieve that much in 10 years span of time would be impossible. If you look at Swamiji's life carefully, you understand that it was not the form which we know as Vivekananda had been taken up by some force. That force took up the form and did the work. That force we call God or Divine Mother. The form which we know as Vivekananda was a form used by that force, that spiritual consciousness, which Swamiji used to call Divine Mother, Sri Ramakrishna used to call Divine Mother, Mother Kali. Otherwise, for any ordinary human being to do that much of work in 10 years span of time would be impossible. Recently we see it has come in newspapers that Swamiji had nearly 31 or 32 diseases. In all his personal letters, Swamiji mentioned, because that much of work he did here. So to some of his close disciples, he used to write, because so many letters Swamiji had written, today I have a little backache, today I am not feeling well, his dyspepsia was there. Because he was constantly moving from place to place, and there was change of food, there was change of air, there was change of water, everything. So he used to get now and then a little disturbance in his body, his general physical health, and that he used to mention in his letters. And if you take it for disease, a little slight indigestion, if you take it for disease, then what? It's very difficult. And how people are trying to interpret and forgetting that quantity of work that he did here, absolutely superhuman. We have to see actually what he had done in what span of time, just in 10 years, just in 10 years. What Swamiji has given to us. He had bequeathed a rich legacy to us Indians. Not just to Indians, for the entire mankind. India was already rich in spiritual wisdom and spiritual wealth even before the advent of Swamiji. But Swamiji enriched it further. Already a rich country in terms of spiritual wisdom and spiritual wealth has become all the more richer after Swamiji had expounded Vedanta. To understand his personality, because as I said, it's a multifaceted personality, not a complex personality, because after all, he was a child of infinite. About Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji used to say, when after coming from the West, he started Ramakrishna Mission. When he had expressed his plans, his desires to some of his brother disciples, they had opposed. And they said that it was completely Western idea. Our master, Sri Ramakrishna, never told us to start an organization or to start dispensaries, hospitals or education institutions to serve mankind. He never told all these things to us. It was your idea. When they told these things to Swamiji, Swamiji said, how can you say that? Sri Ramakrishna's infinite moods and powers personified. Don't try to limit him with his limited intellect. Do you think you have understood Sri Ramakrishna? Swamiji retorted. And in fact, Swamiji also like that, exactly like his master, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, infinite moods and infinite feelings personified. So to define him, to understand him, to comprehend him, to put him in a frame is very difficult. That's why people say it's very complex. His teachings are complex and the person is complex. Not at all complex. He's a child of the infinite. So infinite you can't comprehend, infinite you can't understand. So just here and there, actually few teachings are there, Swamiji's. The mystic in him, the prophet in him, the philosopher in him, if we want to understand, is very, very important. Swamiji said, I would incarnate 200 times. So 200 times he wanted to incarnate just to help mankind. I'll just read out the verbatim, the very language of Swamiji. For my own part, I will be incarnated 200 times, if that is necessary, to do this work amongst my people that I have undertaken. So you see the magnanimous heart, the great heart, I am ready to incarnate 200 times to do the work that I have undertaken amongst my people. And again, in page number 410 in the complete works, the 9th volume, he says 410. Swami said today that he is beginning to see the needs of humanity in quite a different light. That he is already sure of the principle that is to help. But he is spending hours every day in trying to solve the methods, how to help mankind, how to help people, how to assuage the sufferings of humanity. There is suffering in life, that is to be sure a fact. And how can I redress the suffering? How can I mitigate their suffering? That was the concern. All the time he was thinking about mankind only. And he says here that what he had known hitherto is for men living in a cave, alone, undisturbed. But now he will give humanity something that will make for strength in the stress of daily life. You see the language was beautiful. Humanity, he wanted to use something that will make for strength in the stress of daily life. Today, Vivekananda's teachings are going, and his books are being sold in such large numbers, just actually, the Swamiji's words speak for strength. You get some strength in the stress of daily life. Otherwise, why should we read Swamiji? Definitely you get some inspiration, some motivation, some hope, some strength you will get if you read Vivekananda. So religion means strength and fearlessness. So in fact he had given that strength, he had expressed that strength in his words. So when we read his words, we get that strength, we get some hope to face the challenges of life, to overcome the troubles of life. And this is a very beautiful thing. And Swami says, you see, the mystic in him is very difficult to understand. The mystic actually is not an Eastern word, it's a Western word. We use the word yogi. In the West actually, because they can't understand, somebody who is in touch with the transcendental, somebody who is in touch with the divine, somebody who has super sensory perception, who had transcended the mind, who had gone beyond the mind, we call him a yogi. We understand that because our goal is to go beyond the mind, to transcend the limitation of the senses. But in the West, they don't have this concept of transcending the mind or transcending the senses or going beyond the mundane. So they don't understand, they name such persons as mystics. Christian mystics were there, they were in touch with the transcendental, they had realized God. But to understand that man, for ordinary man, it became very difficult. For a man who is living in the mundane world, for a man who is living in senses, it is difficult to understand a yogi. So how to understand him, how to define him? They name him mystic, which I can't understand. So is something mystic means that which I cannot grasp, something secret. But in India we never use the word mystic, we use the word yogi. We know that actually he has transcended the senses, he has transcended the mind, he has touched the supramundane, he has touched the feet of God, that which is beyond mind. So in him actually Swami at one point of time said, in fact I am a mystic at heart. So that's a very beautiful language. Again I read out the same language what they said here. To him, so here he says, to him, in October 13, 1890, a letter to Mr. Ashton Johnson, written from Kashmir, Sister Nivedita describes Swami Vivekananda's spiritual mood. I am at heart a mystic, Margaret was telling Sister Nivedita, she was Margaret Noble. All this reasoning is only apparent. I am really always on the lookout for signs and things. And so I never bother about the fate of my initiations. So I am at heart a mystic. So Margaret, all this reasoning is only apparent. In fact, he had given so much of knowledge to mankind. But Swami said actually, I don't bother what I have given. I never try to quantify the work I did. Because I am not interested in that. Just because I wanted to do something, I do that's all. Because God was using me as an instrument. So it was a spontaneous outburst and spontaneous overflow of knowledge actually which we get surprised, which we look at, even today we look at that much of knowledge in such a short span of time, and we find it very difficult to understand many of the ideas. But Swami said, see, I am at heart a mystic. Consciously I am not doing anything. So such people are very difficult to understand, the language. To him at this moment, doing good seems horrible. Only the mother does everything. Patriotism is a mistake. Everything is a mistake. It's our mother. All men are good. Only we can't reach all. I am never going to teach anymore. Who am I that I should teach anyone? Swamiji is dead and gone. Towards the end, back end of life, Swamiji was telling, patriotism is a mistake. You all understand Vivekananda is a patriot. What is patriotism for a mystic, for a prophet? He loved whole mankind, whole humanity. But you see the complex role he had to play. Because in India, he had to raise the nation, to raise the nation to that levels of patriotism so that we would get freedom, political freedom. A country that is not politically free, economically free, socially free cannot aspire for spiritual freedom. Swamiji knew that well. So how these people lost confidence in themselves? That's a great nation. So he had the task of raising this nation first from the slums to the just. So to lose that nation, what is the strength? From how he has to do that? The nationalist feeling. How could he use the nationalist feeling? The great ancestry. By reminding the people of this nation, you belong to Rishis, you are Rishis, your forefathers are Rishis. The Rishi's blood is coursing through your veins. You are not an inferior race, you are a great race. Look back and go back to your roots. Look at your ancestry. Swamiji reminded us of that. And that actually lose the nation consciousness in the country. And in that way, indirectly, he helped India achieve freedom, political freedom. And without uttering a word, single word against the British, actually he would unite the nation. In fact, many of the freedom fighters, many of the revolutionists at the time used to have Vivekananda's literature, particularly the book Lectures from Colombo to Almara. So the Britishers got suspicious. What is this? All these revolutionaries have Vivekananda's books. So actually they wanted to ban that literature at one point of time. But when he actually browsed through the book, they could not find anything, a single word against the British. The positive work, constructive work, completely constructive. Not saying against a single word against British, and say completely constructive work. So this is the strength of the nation. Your strength lies in your culture, your strength lies in your spiritual heritage, your strength lies in the ancestry. He reminded us of that and actually lose the nation. All the great freedom fighters, in fact, inspiration from Swamiji's teachings. When they read Vivekananda's writings, actually, they understood this is a great nation. Britishers actually the barbarians, not we are barbarians, because Britishers branded as barbarians. And actually they trumpeted the whole world. Indians are barbarians, that we ought to rule them, that's why we are ruling over them. That was what they did. They are superstitious, they are ignorant, they are uneducated, they are illiterate, and they are barbarians and heathens. That's what the language that they had used. But when Vivekananda went to the West and when he spoke about Vedanta there and about the great culture and the spiritual ideas and great ideas of this nation, actually the whole world first time looked at India in wonder and in awe. And then afterwards, when he came back, all his teachings were read by our patriots and freedom fighters. And actually, Mahatma Gandhi said that India, after reading Vivekananda, my love for the country has increased by 1,000-fold. Not just Mahatma Gandhi, all other freedom fighters, Subhash Chandra Bose, Vipin Chandra Pal, and Arvind Ghosh, the main one, everybody had read, had taken inspiration from Vivekananda and fought the freedom struggle and actually helped us to win the political freedom. So his contribution in that way as a patriot, but here Swamiji is saying that patriotism is a mistake. He says, everything is a mistake, it is all mother, all men are good, only we cannot reach all. So for a prophet to make distinction between man and man on the basis of religion, on the basis of region, on the basis of race, on the basis of nationality, is very difficult. But he had to perform such a difficult role. It's an active mistake, very difficult to understand an active mistake. Ramana Maharshi is very easy to define him, very easy to understand him. Your Ramakrishna Paramahamsa you can easily understand, but you can't understand Vivekananda. Why it is difficult? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa externally was a Bhakta, internally was a Jnani. That much we can define him, we can understand him. Because he actually always kept himself in Bhava Samadhi, between this transcendental state and this mundane state. A little good body consciousness. Delicately, precariously he used to keep that body consciousness so that he would do his work, the little work, the great work that he had come to perform. So, in between the transcendental truth and between the body, between the mundane, he used to oscillate. As Divine Mother instructed him, divine in Bhava Mukha, divine in Bhava Samadhi. But Vivekananda had to come one step more from the Gunatita sthiti, Turiya state, from the transcendental state, from Samadhi, Nirvikalpa state, one step down is Sattva, and a step down further is Rajas. And for a mystic, for a realized soul, come to the level of rajas is very, very difficult and very painful. Very excruciatingly painful state would be to come back to rajas. So giving lectures would be rajasic state only. And that too, to enlighten people, to educate people. And Vivekananda did that very complex work of coming down to the state of rajas to raise this nation from tamas to rajas. Because from tamas to sattva, you cannot directly jump. You have to come to rajas. And then from rajas to sattva. And in the West he had for all the people who were in rajas. So he taught them philosophy, he taught them spirituality. He had given out great spiritual ideas. And he says, the greatest teaching, if you ask me what is the greatest teaching of Vivekananda, he says, love death. You may get frightened to listen to this, but in fact, that is I consider as the greatest teaching of Swamiji. Because he says, it's love death. What happens when you love death? From Sister Nivedita's October 27, 1899 diary entry at Richmond Manor, in which Swami Vivekananda expressed his concern to holy will. Nightmares always begin pleasantly. Only at the worst point, the dream is broken. So death breaks this dream of life, love death. This is the statement Swamiji made. Nightmares always begin pleasantly. Only at the worst point of time, the dream is broken. So death breaks the dream of life. He says life is a dream. And death breaks the dream. Life is a dream. We are dreaming now. We are in a dream. Death breaks the dream. So when dream is broken, you really awaken. We say we all know that actually dream state is inferior than the awakened state. Now we are awakened. Now we are in dream. And when the dream is broken by death, we awaken. So that's why all mystics, they consider death superior to life. They say death is superior to life. But immortality, self-realization is superior to both life and death. That is the highest. We can't compare with the state of life and death. So the samsara is transmigrated to cycle which we are in. Life and death actually. When you transcend that, you reach the immortality. But death is certainly superior to life, Swami says. That's why in India, we are asked to seek voluntary death. In a sense, not the death of the person, not death of the body. Death of the body is not the death of the person. Death of individuality. In the West, actually, they didn't understand. One woman asked Swamiji, after listening to Vedanta philosophy for so many days, she put one question to Swamiji. So how could that, in such a system of philosophy, people consent to live at all? And she thought actually Swamiji is advocating suicide because they were so gross-minded. So much of body consciousness, they don't understand anything other than the body. So they don't even understand mind, many of the civilizations. So how could people consent to live at all in such philosophy, Swamiji? That was the question she put. Swami says, why? Human life is as sacred, human being's life is as sacred as any other life. So the life is sacred, life has a purpose. The purpose is to learn our lessons in the school of life. We learn our lessons and then we go beyond the cycle of life and death. So when Swami said, seek death, death of not the body, death of individuality, death of the ego, death of this little individuality when that takes place, and you expand into the universal individuality. This limited consciousness becomes universal consciousness. Behind the tiny body-mind complex, there is that infinite that they don't understand. So they couldn't grasp the Vedanta. Swamiji knew that well. Only India is the country where people have the capacity, organic capacity, subtlety of nerve to understand this highest philosophy of Vedanta. It's easy to make people understand this here. But in the West, it is very difficult. Swamiji found it out, in fact. After all this, because that civilization compared to our civilization is very backward. So, the very language that they use, if somebody dies, if somebody passes away, what they say, the body has given up the ghost. The body has given up the ghost. But in India, what we say, the soul has departed, the soul has left the body. See, from that language, from the language only we understand the state of civilization, and the advancement, and the level at which they are, the stage at which they are. The body has given up the ghost. Somebody says, is it the body that allows the spirit to depart? Or it the spirit that departs and then makes the body dead or insentient, which is conscious entity? Is it the body that is conscious or is it the spirit that is conscious? Spirit that is conscious. When the spirit, the soul departs the body and the body becomes insentient, jada padartha. But it's not the body that permits the spirit to leave, but it's the spirit that departs and then body becomes insentient. So from that understanding to this understanding to come, actually a long way. It will take ions for all of them to understand this philosophy which we have. We don't treasure our own riches, that's the problem. We don't know the cultural greatness of our spiritual idea, spiritual wisdom, the greatness of spiritual wisdom. So in fact, we actually suffer from a sort of inferiority complex. When Swamiji came, the whole nation was like that. And Swamiji has actually now made us feel that you are the superior among all the races in the world. If you read Vivekananda, that much conviction will be developed. That India is not an ordinary country, and we are not an inferior race, we are the most superior race in the world in terms of spiritual knowledge. It's a nation favored by God. It's a nation favored by God, that's what we understand when we read Vivekananda. So here, one more beautiful teaching that Swamiji says. The gist of the message, Swamiji, what Vivekananda had given, if you want to understand. So he says, what is the life purpose? What is my mission? Swamiji tries to put it in few words. I'll just read out in the pattern here. In society, there are various natures of man. Some are active, working man. There is the emotional man, then there is the mystic man, and lastly there is the philosopher. So all the Vedanta philosophy, Swamiji tried to classify into 4 yogas, we all know that. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Raja Yoga. So human beings he has classified into 4 types. The active man, the worker, he needs work. Without work, he cannot meditate, he cannot sit calm and quiet. He requires work all the time. That is worker. For him, Karma Yoga. And then the mystic. The mystic means who is interested in contemplation. He doesn't like much activity, he doesn't like to mingle with people. So for such people, is Raja Yoga, controlling the mind by Yamanima, Pranayama, Asana. So for the Patanjali Yoga. And then also we have a philosopher, he wants to discriminate, he wants to reason. For him, Jnana Yoga. And there is the emotional man, the last man. Emotional man, he needs bhajans, he needs singing, he needs puja, he needs rituals to reach God. So there are basically 4 types of people in any society. So in India, we have mythology, we have philosophy, Upanishads, the religious ideas that appeal to the temperaments of all the individuals. The whole humanity can map upon our spiritual heritage and get benefited out of this. Not just one side, it's complete. Vedanta is complete. So Swami says that yoga, by combining all the religion which has a place for men of all the natures, and a religion which satisfies the thirst of men of different inclination, may be the universal religion, and that religion is Vedanta. Most cordially, we recommend this admirable little book to our readers. So I got Swami is talking about this Jnana Yoga. For it contains some clear and definite expression of views and the most vital problems that is engaging the serious attention of theologians. So Swami says this soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest the divinity within. Do it either work or worship, a psychic control, a philosophy, any one or all of these. So actually temperamental disposition is there. Some of them may be more inclined towards reason, more inclined towards Jnana Yoga, some may be more inclined towards Karma Yoga. But it doesn't matter. The wanted, he is an ideal sadhaka who can combine all these 4 yogas in his life in harmonious proportion and achieve spiritual perfection. It doesn't do just if you attain spiritual perfection. Even the path also, as a spiritual aspirant also, as a sadhaka also, you should be an ideal sadhaka. Who makes an ideal sadhaka? We can combine all these 4. In fact, in Ramakrishna Mission, he has tried to give equal emphasis to all the 4 yogas. If I say that I want to sit in meditation whole day, no permission is given like that. You can't sit in whole day in meditation and you need not. So if I am temperamentally inclined only for that kind of path, then this organization is not suited for you. The organization is designed and structured in such a way, and you have to combine all the 4. There is no other goal. And then what Swamiji is the twin idea of Atma Moksha Jagadhitayacha. So once you want spiritual betterment and for the benefit of the mankind. So when it takes place, suppose if I withdraw into a cave and meditate there, how can I help the society? I may help the society through my prayers, but actually tangibly can I help the society? No. I am seeking my own salvation. So I can just sing, I can go and withdraw into solitude, I can just pray to God, I can just sing songs and bhajans, and then I can work out my own salvation. But does it help? Does it help society? Does it help people? No. So what you have to do, you have to be in the midst of the society, you combine all the 4 yogas, then only Jagadhitaya takes place. Atma Mokshadam Jagadhitaya. Both should go hand in hand. So that's what Swamiji actually wanted. So that's the Ramakrishna Mission. In fact, he wanted all of us to be. And the greatest contribution of Vivekananda, if you want to know, so he has tried to bridge East and the West. He has tried to bridge the past and the present, the ancient and the modern, in the science and spirituality. So the past actually, we actually cut off from our past. Sometimes actually We get carried away by the present. So we forget about the past. So now today, we don't think much about these momentous problems of life. Like death, there is misery, there is suffering. We don't get even time, many of us. In fact, we have invented so many things. All these gadgets should have allowed us more time to think deep, to ponder deep on the basic problems of life. But unfortunately, somehow the Maya has come in such a way that modern man has become so busy, he doesn't have time even to think for himself. Whereas the people some 5,000 years back, they had more time and reach at their disposal. And what they did, they pondered over on all these momentous problems of life, like death. Why should man die? Why should man suffer misery? Why should man suffer old age? Is there no way to escape from these basic problems of life? They pondered and they understood, they found out the truth. So, when we look back to our ancestors, when we look back to our scriptures, which we don't get time to think on all these problems, but they had thought of that long, like 5,000 years back, distance past. And they had given us the essence, the gist of the highest knowledge. And so we don't have to think so much. We just directly we can take, we can just borrow the knowledge and just put that into practice and get benefit out of that. So, but for other countries, whether we don't know, but for India, the glory lies in it. For India, the glory lies in his past heritage only. So all our scriptures, Upanishads, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, other books on Vedanta, Puranas, all contain the highest spiritual wisdom. But today we have become so gross, and after some time we find it very difficult. Bhagavad Gita, many people say that I find it difficult somebody to understand and comprehend. That is because too much of materialism, the mind has become gross, and so we are not able to understand that subtle knowledge. That's why Sukshma Buddhi is necessary. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya. Krishna says this. Raja Vidya, think of sciences, and Raja Guhya. Profoundly mysterious. True, it's profoundly mysterious. But you need to have a subtle intellect. But that requires little sadhana. And so when Swami Vivekananda also, they try to say he is a complex man and very difficult to understand complex teachings. And many of the intellectuals are trying to understand the work he had done. And now and then you see that on the occasion of his 150th birthday anniversary, many articles are appearing. I feel like laughing when some of these expressions, actually so shallow, so superfluous expressions, because they have not studied Vivekananda thoroughly, because it's not that easy to understand, because it's a mystic. He's a child of the infinite. How can you understand that mystic and child of the infinite? And you need to have some internal cleansing is necessary, internal purification is necessary to understand him, to understand philosophy, to understand spirituality. So, the problem is, because we can't understand these things, we think they are not real, they are not true. But here, some discipline is necessary. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, it requires subtle intellect, means some sadhana is necessary, some tapasya is necessary, some finance is necessary, some dispassion is necessary, dispassion for the world, and the mind completely engrossed with the things of the world. How can you understand metaphysics? So physics or metaphysics, only one thing is possible actually. So when mind is completely on the senses, so it's difficult to understand even theoretically also. So even to have a theoretical understanding of the scriptures, which contain the subtle essence of our highest philosophy, what we need to do is, we need to do little tapas. What is that tapas? Prayer, selfless service, prayer, repetition of God's name, all these things are instituted form. We are asked to do that. Why? This is the reason. Just as some antahkarana, the mind becomes a little pure. When the mind becomes pure, when we make an attempt, we understand things in a clearly. A clear perspective actually will emerge. We'll be able to appreciate intellectually first. And then when we keep on reading, the ideas will go and sink into the subconscious. Once those ideas sink into the subconscious mind acts upon the conscious mind. And so, because these ideas have gone deep into our subconscious mind, into our mind, and so the man automatically becomes a good man. All the samskaras, spiritual samskaras have gone deep into him. So without that, without changing the subconscious, without effectively changing the subconscious, it's not possible to become good. As Swami says in one place, it's very difficult to be good. That's why you have to look at man, the greatest sympathy, from the most Catholic spirit, because it's very difficult, it's not easy to be good. And he says it in another place, what are you after all mere machine till you become free? It's not in your power to do good or to do bad. Helplessly, the samskaras will work through you. You are a helpless instrument in the hands of the divine. So you understand that. And so even if somebody is wrong, even if somebody is wicked, and you see, and don't actually pity him, don't sympathize with him just like that, but actually love him, love him. See, who knows if you are placed in these circumstances, in his place, how you behave. So what he meant to say is, so to effect that change, the samskaras, to cleanse the subconscious mind, to strengthen it, and to purify it, we have to do tapasya, we have to do sadhana. That's why Swami again and again says renunciation, renunciation, renunciation. Renunciation gives the highest fruit, but we don't understand that. We get frightened. One man gets frightened the moment you use the word renunciation. The word renunciation itself has a negative connotation. In fact, our ancestors didn't ask us just to give up like that. They asked us to give up the lower for the sake of the higher. So creature comforts, aharam, bhayam, nidra, maithuna, they are actually common to all beings. So all creatures. You have got human embodiment, you have got human form, you have got human body, the highest instrument with which you can realize God. But infinite possibility is open to you. When that infinite possibility is open to you, and if you stagnate at a sensory level all through your life, it's a tragedy. What they say is, so don't end up there. Swami again and again beautifully says, humanity is not traveling from error to truth, but from lower truth to higher truth. Even the sensory pleasures are also not bad. You don't have to feel guilty conscious. They enjoy also, because they are low truths. And seek the higher, seek the highest. They are low truth. If that is not there, that urge is not there, the aspiration is not, the spiritual aspiration to achieve something high in life, something noble, something pure, something grand. And actually, the whole society is stagnant, we can say. After what happens, then the whole society becomes purely materialistic. When there is only a materialistic society, we have corruption, we have exploitation, all these evils will come naturally. The reason, the root cause of all the evils of the present society in the east or the west is only one thing, that the highest aspiration is not there. Very few people are actually really the spiritual speakers are there, even in a country like India. So when that moksha is not set as the goal, that is the highest possibility for man. So in fact, our rishis say that all the enjoyments that we derive through the senses also, they are also from that infinite bliss only, from the Lord only. Filtered and only a little actually, it's a speck compared to that infinite bliss, which is the Kaivalya bliss. This is only a speck. So when somebody realizes God, like Vivekananda, Paramahamsa, they are moved by pity, looking at mankind, and that infinite possibility is open to this man. Having God as human embodiment and human instrument, you see how he is wasting, a colossal waste of time, colossal waste of energy, colossal waste of precious birth, and he is not making an attempt to realize his spiritual nature. So that's why they preach. Even though Swamiji, he was not well, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, body was not cooperating, was not permitting, but so they exerted so much because every moment, every minute of his time was spent for mankind. How much we think about the body? 2 days we travel and then we get sick and then we want to take rest. And Swamiji, you see the sacrifice, the amount of sacrifice. Never he took rest, never he had an opportunity to take rest. That's why Subhash Chandra describes him recklessly his sacrifice. Recklessly he sacrificed. That beautiful and last statement of Swamiji actually. So that I read out and then with that I try to conclude my speech. It may be that I shall find it good to get out of this body, to give up this body as a worn-out garment, but I shall inspire men everywhere till the whole world know that it's one with God. You see the heart, you see the statement. Till the whole world knows that it's one with God. But I shall continue to work, Swami said. The body has gone. Rama says, before 39, the man had not even attained 40, but the body was put on the funeral pyre. The body was put on the funeral pyre. He says, the fire is not actually engulfed, the fire is not exhausted, the fire is still there, it's burning. And from that fire actually, India is awakening, he says. And today also, Vivekananda is teaching. The fire was not put out, Vivekananda's. Now actually the teachings are getting like wildfire. After giving up his body, just 39 given up the body. I shall cast it off like a disused garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world know that it is one with God. So all these great people and incarnations, their heart has become so big. They had expanded, Vivekananda had expanded his heart so much. At one point of time he tells Priyanati, Bhai, so can't you help me in my work? Don't you see me sinking day after day? Every drop of blood, my heart had expanded, he said. Physically it had expanded, not just emotionally. My heart had expanded. And Swami said, I will come back again because I fell in love with man. I fell in love with man. Why he fell in love with man? Man has that infinite possibility in him to realize the divine nature, to become God. But he forgets that to remind man that again and again, oh man, you are essentially divine, you are essentially infinite. Seek that infinite nature of your own being, which is deep within you. So to remind that, I'm ready to take any number of incarnations, I'm ready to take any number of bodies to help man to do that, to achieve that, to realize that he is one with the Supreme. So Vivekananda's heart now we see. What we see when we read his teachings, actually the heart, the great heart is revealed there. In fact, Vivekananda is none but Buddha's heart and Shankara's intellect combined in one person is Vivekananda. Intellectual, undoubtedly great genius par excellence. Maybe in my opinion, after Shankaracharya, the world has not seen a genius of Swami's caliber. He has no peer. The modern world has no peer. You have to explore. 10 years of work, but maybe a lifetime is not sufficient for us. If you explore, you have to explore his teachings. Spread over in 9 volumes. So to understand every idea may be difficult because it was actually from the deepest core of his being, God. That, as I said, the Divine Mother. Divine Mother, out of infinite compassion for his children who are sunk in Maya. Divine Mother, out of infinite compassion for his children who are sunk in Maya, had taken up the body called Swami Vivekananda and had given us that knowledge, highest knowledge. And actually, that is the rich heritage for us, for all of us, and we need to get benefited out of that. We need to take that wealth. We need to get benefited of that. We have to enjoy that wealth which Vivekananda has given. The wealth of spiritual wisdom. Let us, on this sacred and auspicious day, let us resolve, let us take a sankalpa to read Vivekananda, to understand him, to explore him, and to realize our divine nature. Perhaps I think that is the greatest tribute that we can pay to him. No great prophet, no incarnation of God expects us just to put up a statue or just wave little deepa, arti, or just little incense waving. That is the kind of tribute Swamiji, particularly Vivekananda, never expected from mankind. What he wanted us is to read him, to understand him, to get benefited out of his teachings. The teachings should go into our blood, to go into our veins, and then something will come out of practice definitely. Gurudev Puja Swami Ranganathanji, he read complete works of 40 to 50 times. You all have seen him, most of you. And see, the spirit actually had entered. Swami said, I left my power in my words, whoever reads me, whoever reads my teachings, my spirit will enter them and my spirit will work through them. And saw, in fact, we could see him, because he read so many times Vivekananda's teachings, his spirit entered him and spirit worked through him. And some other people say he's more than Vivekananda. It's crazy. So it's possible Swami will work through you. The only thing that you need to do is you have to read him repeatedly. You have to read him repeatedly. It is our wealth. So he is a blessing to mankind, a blessing to humanity, the teachings particularly. The more you read, the more you enjoy, I'm sure. Your intellectual delight you can treat yourself to that intellectual feast you have, surely. That delight actually you can't acquire by any other sensual things. So at least how much we will put into practice, that's a different thing. But something will get translated into action definitely if you read Vivekananda repeatedly. Because there is power, there is force in the words. I mean, the power, the force, and the clarity with which he presented the ideas is something unique in annals of spiritual history of the world. So let us pay our tribute or homage to the great martyr by reading him, by understanding him, and by putting something into practice in our lives. So we should stop here. Now it's time for Arati. We should continue with our Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna from next class onwards. Sri Ramakrishna.
లో బ్యాట్ కొట్టుందా తొందరగా, లో బ్యాట్ కొట్టుకుంటుంది సడన్గా అయిపోతుంది.
ఆఫ్ చేసేనా?